Hello, good morning from Cape Town. I'm sitting here inside Goblet with JC Smith, and we are going to do my first interview for my channel, so I'm quite excited about that. We are going to discuss a delivery that JC did of an L26 from Durban to Cape Town. So JC, where are you from and how long have you been here in South Africa?
Well, I'm actually from Canada. A lot of people can tell by the accent, but I came here November 2nd, so I've been here just over a few months now.
Okay.
I'm not leaving until March, but my jobs are on boats, and so I came here my first week. I arrived at the yacht club, and I met Mark and Angela as well, and I guess the yacht clubs are very, very friendly wherever you go, and I've just been able to join into the whole entire family.
Oh, that's very nice. And yes, you do seem to have slotted in very well into life as a member here at
Very
Royal
much
Cape
so.
Yacht Club. So tell me, how long have you been sailing and what are your qualifications?
Well, I've been sailing for 24 years. I've been sailing for, I guess I'm only 26 years old, so
wow.
Yeah, I was on a boat before I could walk. I've lived aboard boats. I've raced boats professionally for the last 15 years. I've been a commercial sailing captain for the last 4 years, and my job is probably more on the water than anything that I've ever done on land. So it's a lot of fun, and I wouldn't put myself anywhere else, that's for sure.
So JC, here's what I really want to talk about. What made you decide to deliver this very light displacement L26 from Durban to Cape Town?
I get that question a lot, I have to say.
And I'm sure you asked people's advice as well.
I did, yeah. There was a couple of boats that actually just arrived here at the Royal Cape about a week before I was planning the trip, and they just did the whole trip. I mean, granted, the boat was probably twice the size, but at the same time, they just did the trip. They went non-stop from Durban to Cape Town, and I looked at them thinking that it was possible. I said, is it possible? They went, it's possible. Do you want to do it? That's a whole different question.
So these people you spoke to, they didn't have any problems?
No, they had no positives, no negatives.
bad
They gave me
weather?
some realism on how you gotta follow the current, you gotta look out for your nighttime sailing, make sure that everything is legitimate on board. They said, don't just hop on this boat and go, which I of course would never do. I wanted to make sure that the rigging was tuned. I wanted to make sure that everything was 100% kosher so that we were able to do this safely.
And how many people did you have on board with you?
Well, we did have 3 people. We had the owner, I hired a crew member, and myself as the captain, and
did the owner have any sailing experience?
not at all.
Not at all.
He was just ready to bring the boat down, and we met up actually before we did the delivery. He said, is it possible? I said, yes. Is it recommended? No. And so he wanted to come along, and I said, you're welcome to come along. It's going to be a journey. It's not going to be an easy trip, but if you'd like to come along, I do have room. You can happily come along.
And so he opted to...
He came along, but sadly 11 hours in, he was starting to shut down.
Let's start at the beginning. So tell us what happened from the minute that you left Durban. How was it going?
Well, we bought a brand new engine before we left, because when we arrived,
outboard motor, right?
Yeah, outboard motor. It was a 5.5, because when we showed up, the boat motor, it was a 5 horsepower Yamaha, and it was stuck in a box, and then it had the casing around it. It needed totally redone, and so we said, no, if we want to leave tomorrow, this is the only thing holding us back. Let's get an engine.
So the owner had to purchase a new outboard.
Correct. So we located a brand new one. We bought it that evening. We started it. Everything was good, but it's also a two-stroke.
Did you have all your safety equipment on board?
Yeah, I double-checked before. Life jackets, life rings. We had flares. We had smoke flares as well. We had our VHF. We had everything that was necessary.
And so tell me, is it easy to set off from one port to another port in South Africa these days? Does SAMHSA get involved in?
It's tough. I mean, I signed a bunch of forms.
You have to sign out.
Yeah, I did a full flight plan.
Yeah.
The flight plan was now sent paper-wise directly to the port control, and then I had to fill it out online again, the exact same information.
Okay.
And then about 20-30 minutes later, we got the approval. As long as we had all of our documents set, then we were off.
Okay, so what time was it that you actually set off?
We wanted to leave at 9 o'clock in the morning. We didn't leave until 2 o'clock in the afternoon,
2
so
o'clock
1,400 hours. And I was just wanting to leave, you know? We've got everything else ready. We're just waiting on paperwork. And at least they were happy. They let us go.
They were happy, they let you go. So, describe what happened on the journey, blow by blow.
Well,
it started off well.
It started off well. We had a beautiful sail. I mean, we were leaving the harbor, and we actually sailed out of the dock. We didn't use the engine. We left purely under sail.
This is how you do it, guys.
Yeah, and we had a great time sailing out.
Yeah.
And then we got out of the harbor, but that harbor has such a current that we just put both of our sails up, and we were going upwind the whole way. And we made it out of the harbor about 15 minutes before this huge tanker ship was coming into the harbor. So we were very fortunate there. But then we started going downwind. Beautiful sail in the evening until
How many knots?
Oh, it was constant 20, 25. We were doing 13, 14 knots downwind with the current.
Oh, that's quite strong.
It was great.
Yeah.
And then well, midnight hit.
Midnight, yes.
Midnight was when we got a pure lightning storm. We had 60 plus knot winds. We had 4 meter swells.
Southwesterly.
Yeah, and it came out of nowhere.
You weren't expecting it.
Wasn't expecting it. I had time to get my jib down. I tied up the jib as much as I could.
So it wasn't on the weather report?
No. Weather report said 30 knots.
From nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what did you do?
I dropped the number 3 jib that we had, and I dropped the mainsail, and I did a single reef.
Okay.
And the reefing points were there on the sail, but it'd never been reefed before. So I had an extra line down below to be able to just tie it all down and make sure that it was fully set. And when the 60 knot gust came, the wind was just flapping the sail like a flag. The mast, I'm lucky I tuned it because it was still vibrating. But I was worried the sail would break or the mast would break. So.
And what do you reckon your wave height was?
At least 4 meters.
4 meters, yeah.
But they were swells, probably 9-second intervals, so it wasn't as bad as like chop, chop, chop.
And
so,
it, of course, was pitch dark.
Yeah. All we saw was when the lightning strikes went off, you could see everything around you.
Could you see land?
Mm-hmm.
You could see land.
Yeah, probably 20, 30 nautical miles offshore.
And where was your crew freaking out? Shame.
Very much so.
I feel sorry for
them. I mean, I kept them calm. I said that everything's fine.
Yeah.
I said the boat's safe right now. It's not taking on water. We're in a good spot. There is no sail power. Anytime the wind kind of decreased a bit, I would just sail downwind a bit more. Put a little bit of wind in the sail so that it's not flapping all the time. And we got out of it safely.
But now, the owner was ill.
Yeah, at that point
he got
now.
Seasick.
Totally seasick. So I had no choice but to call NSRI.
Was that in the early hours?
That was 3 o'clock in the morning, the first night.
Were you worried about?
We were worried about him.
Yeah.
I mean, he was shaking. His body was starting to shut down. We were doing everything, giving him blankets and giving him everything that he could, and warming up his body.
Actually.
Yeah, it could have been
more than seasickness.
A lot, just because he had no fluids in him. He couldn't keep it down. So.
And I suppose he didn't have the correct wet weather gear.
Yeah, he had a coat, but he still didn't have pants. He didn't have anything that I had necessarily.
Yes, that's always a mistake that new sailors make.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have the gear.
And even my crew member, he was actually on vacation close by to Durban, so he came along. I gave him my extra jacket, but it wasn't.
None of you guys were expecting to be cold, actually.
No.
Okay, so Then what happened? You called the NSRI?
Yeah, they picked him up at 5 o'clock in the morning.
How did you call them? On the radio or?
No, I had
phone?
access to it via phone. And I was given the numbers from Durban Marina before I left, saying that if you need this, if you need that, then these are all the information. And so we were lucky, but they said they'd be 30 minutes, and then they wouldn't launch the boat until sunrise. So they didn't leave until 5 in the morning, 4:45. And they arrived to us just past 5.
When it was getting light.
Yeah, but 3 o'clock in the morning he was done. So that last 2 hours for him was just less and less and less.
So the NSRI, which station did they come from?
That was at Shelley Beach.
Shelley Beach, okay. And how did they manage to get rafted up to your boat?
Oh, I just heaved to. I backwinded my jib. I kept myself stationary, and they had the rubber duck that showed up.
Oh, it was a rubber duck.
Yeah.
Okay, not the big boat.
No. Oh. I told them what the height of the boat was, and they didn't need a big boat. They just brought the rubber duck. Off they went. Some guy jumped onto the boat and then helped him off.
Those guys are brave. Eh?
Yeah.
They really do a good job.
It was a good time, though. I mean, after that, it was just the two of us.
So were you guys okay after that?
Yeah, but 52 hours of sailing.
Was hanging in there.
Yeah.
Very brave.
2 hours of sleep on 52 hours of sailing. Sure. But I was happy to get off the water, and I don't say that often.
Yeah, for you to say that, that's quite something.
Yeah.
And so you made it to East London.
We did.
And didn't you say something about actually going past East London and having to backtrack?
Well, so our charts got wet, and then we didn't have access to any of the charts that were on our phone because my phone died. The owner had his charts, and he sent the login to my phone, which is dead, so the crew member didn't have it. So I followed the stars the one night, knowing exactly what my heading was on the compass.
Yes.
And then I did overshoot East London by about 15 nautical miles.
Oh, okay.
And so I fought the coast all the way back up.
When did you realize that you had gone past East London?
Well, it was, I went to bed at 5 o'clock in the morning after the second night, and I slept for about 2 hours. And when I woke up at 7:30, I'm looking at the compass, and I'm looking at my crew member, Tony, and I said, why are we heading true north? I said, aren't we supposed to be going south? I said, East London is south from Durban, not north. So then we took a look at our GPS that we had, and it said that we'd overshot it. So now we're heading back upwind, basically true north. And so that's when we noticed, when I woke up, being like, I think we overshot it a little bit. So it was just overtired, not sleeping, so much commotion.
It's hard to think when you're tired.
Yeah.
Very, very hard.
And I mean, my crew member had never done nighttime sailing, so I had the helm the whole entire night.
So
from darkness until, well, not sleep, he was still my watch, but it was so that I could surf these waves that were 2-3 meter swells that he didn't know how to do it without looking at a wave. I just close my eyes and I can still tell where the wave is and how to surf it. But if you're used to looking at the wave, when it's pitch black outside, you can't surf them.
Wow. So, well, we're all happy that you made it to East London. And is that where the boat is at the moment? Yeah,
currently we're working on getting a trailer, and it's going to be trailered down here, because I'm not going to do the rest of the trip if the owner is not wanting to come along. Yes. I'm not comfortable with him coming along if he's not able to do the trip, and it'll cost the same amount of money for me to deliver it than what it is for him to get a trailer. So he's in control now. He just arrived actually in East London about an hour ago. He's now looking at a trailer to buy, and it should be down here before the end of the week.
And is he a Capetonian?
Yeah, he's working on getting a membership at the Royal Cape here.
Okay, so we'll be seeing him out on the water.
Oh, you'll see the boat lots.
No doubt with you as well, on board helping him.
Yeah, there's a little bit of me in that boat now, that's for sure.
Yes. What is the name of the boat?
Prana.
Prana. Okay.
She kept us safe.
She did.
I mean,
she's a Lavranas after all.
Yeah.
Right? The brightest design.
And there was lots of sail choices. I mean, we had a number 1, number 2, number 3. We had a storm jib. We had 2 reefing points on the main. Even in 35 knots of wind with a double reef main and our storm jib, we were still doing 9.5 knots.
Wow.
And
that's
so
fantastic.
she just cruised along.
Sure.
I would sail her again, just not through the
Just
wild
not.
coast.
And so tell people what it says on your t-shirt.
Oh, I got this in Buffalo River Yacht Club. It says, "I survived the wild coast."
Oh, JC, that's actually a lovely story. Thank you very much
I'll never forget it.
for telling me.
The 3
Yeah, I
days
think as
felt
long
like a
as you
week.
live,
Yeah.
you will not forget that trip.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, let's see if I can beat it now, though. There's got to be another step up from there.
Maybe a Cape to Rio.
Or the
Okay.
Mykonos.
Yeah,
or
Mykonos race.
off to Simonstown on Sunday.
Yeah. And
We'll
there's
see.
a race tomorrow.
Yeah.
Which you
Double-handed
are
race tomorrow.
double-handed on, what is her name again?
On Pure Magic.
Double-handed on Pure Magic tomorrow. And I will be doing a little bit of video of that race as well. And I think the weather, very light winds.
That's why we're going out this evening for some training.
Lots of spinnakers flying tomorrow.
Yes. I'm looking forward to it. We got every sail ready to go. I cleaned the bottom this morning.
Oh,
I leave
okay.
nothing untouched.
Watch out, guys. That's Pure Magic.
She is Pure Magic, so.
Thank you, Jessie.
Hey, thank
For
you.
talking to me. There we go.